Hey there. Today we're going to learn how to add and subtract decimals. And adding and subtracting decimals is very similar to adding and subtracting whole numbers, but with one really important extra step. So if I had a problem like 12 and 5 tenths plus 1 and 57 hundredths. You notice there's both of these numbers have decimals in them. And the first thing that I want to do when I'm adding or subtracting decimals is I need to line my decimals up. So I'm going to rewrite this problem, but before I write the numbers in, I'm going to write 3 decimal points in a row on my paper. So the reason I'm writing 3 is because the first decimal point represents the decimal in that number, the second decimal represents the decimal in that number, and the third decimal is going to represent the decimal in my answer. So when I go to add these together in this case, I'm going to plug these numbers in around these decimals. So this would have 12 and 5 on that side, and this number would have a 1 and 5, 7 on that side. So you can see that the decimal points have been lined up, but you notice that there are some missing spaces. And the reason that it's so important to line these decimal points up is because we're really aligning the place value. Here we're adding hundredths to hundredths, and tenths to tenths, and ones to ones, and tens to tens. So if we had set it up where the 5 was on top of the 7, we would not have the correct place value alignments. So when I have some missing spaces, all I need to do is just annex some zeros into my problem to be able to continue. Putting any zeros at the end of a whole number on a decimal point, or putting a 0 at the beginning of a whole number before the decimal point does not change the value in any way here. But it does allow us to go ahead and have some placeholders. So let's go ahead and add 0 plus 7 is 7. 5 plus 5 is 10. I'm going to carry that 1 the same way I would normally over here. 1 plus 2 plus 1 is 4, and 1 plus 0 is 1. So my answer would be 14 and 7 hundredths. Let's try another example. This time we'll subtract. If I have the problem 43 and 8 tenths minus 2 and 54 hundredths. Again, the first thing that I want to do is I want to line up my decimal points. So I'm going to do that. And remember, I want to include a third decimal point for my answer as well. Then I'm going to subtract and put my numbers in accordingly. So I plug in 43 and 8 tenths and 2 and 54 hundredths. And you'll notice again there's spaces, and this is a really important step, especially when we're subtracting. We have to make sure that we annex those zeros, because if I just see a 4 here, I might think, oh, I just bring the 4 down, but that's really not what's happening. I'm subtracting 4 from 0, and that would not give me the answer of 4. I know that I can't subtract 4 from 0. I will have to borrow from the 8, and that becomes a 7. And it's really 10 minus 4, which would be 6. Then 7 minus 5 would be 2. Again, my decimal is already in my answer from when I lined them up in my problem. 3 minus 2 is 1, and 4 minus 0 is 4. So my answer would be 41 and 26 hundredths. Let's look at one more example, and in this example we're going to see a whole number being added to a decimal point. So let's say 54 plus 6 and 41 hundredths. So again, since we're adding with a decimal point, I'm going to want to line decimal points up, but you'll notice that the number 54 doesn't actually have a decimal point in it. That's okay, because every number, every whole number does include a decimal point. Even if it's not written, it would fall directly after the ones place. So just as in this problem here, it falls between the ones and the tenths place, this decimal point would fall right after the ones place. So I would set that up as 54 And down here I would set it up as 6 and 41 hundredths. And again, I'm going to want to annex some zeros or add some zeros into my problems as placeholders. And again, you see those place values just kind of line up. So 0 plus 1 is 1, 0 plus 4 is 4, 4 plus 6 is 10, and 1 plus 5 plus 0 is 60. So my answer would be 60 and 41 hundredths.